At the beginning of this tremendous pandemic that we're all going through, I had to improvise myself with video lessons in order to maintain contact with my students at school. At the beginning, I must say it was very embarrassing for me because I wasn't used to appear in videos. I didn't like to. I didn't know how to act in front of a webcam. I felt very self-conscious. And if you notice the first videos that were shot in at the end of February, the beginning of March, I do appear as a very self-conscious person in front of a camera, not knowing what to say and what to do. However, after some numbers of video lessons for my classes, I've kind of discovered the potentialities that teaching English through a video lesson might have. First of all, because thanks to this tool, I can do a short video at any time. If I have an intuition, if I have the inspiration, if something comes to mind regarding maybe some tips that I can give to students learning English as a foreign language. When I say students learning English as a foreign language, I don't specifically mean young people who are at school and perhaps are following English courses at school. I mean, anybody who wants to learn English may take a look at these brief videos with tips regarding the language, how to improve certain aspects of the language. And they are mainly addressed or specifically addressed to Italian people trying to learn the language, because teaching English to Italian students at school, I have picked up and I treasure the questions my students in class have asked me over the years, and I've also treasured the difficulties that Italian-speaking people encounter when learning English. So today I'm going to speak about the need of repeating the personal subject pronoun at every time. It is extremely important in English because, unlike in the Italian language, in which every verb conjugation has a different ending for each person, thus the repetition of the personal subject pronoun is not necessary, and sometimes it is even useless, if not irritating. In English, it's extremely important because without the repetition of the personal subject pronoun, we never get to understand who is actually carrying out the action. A special attention needs to be dedicated to the third person singular neutral pronoun, meaning it, especially when speaking of impersonal actions. So, for instance, if I'm saying it is late, I can't take away it as I would in Italian, because if I don't, it's the sentence is incorrect. No, even if you can guess that it is the it pronoun we are obviously referring to, it is important to state it, otherwise the sentence is incomplete, it's incorrect. So it needs to be repeated at all times with no exception. So for instance, I would say it is raining, it is snowing, it is sunny, And if you also have paid attention, I have used the present continuous um, instead of the present simple, because if I say it is raining, I mean at this exact moment, and I am not stating a general truth. Therefore, I will use the present continuous, which is the form of the present that is used with the ing ending of the verb. The second topic that I would like to discuss in this video are short answers. When you are asked a question, the best way to answer is using a short answer. So, for instance, if I say, did you see my email? Especially if I'm writing it down, I will repeat, yes, I have seen it, or yes, I do, or no, I don't. Answering just yes or no is considered quite rude unless you are speaking to a family member or a friend. But short answers are always used in writing, especially. Another important thing that Italians tend to ignore, to wave away because they don't see it as necessary for their learning, is the ability to spell. This is so because an Italian who is learning, even though they are learning English, when they have to write a word down, they use their ability of thinking of the word as you actually write it down in their heads. But when what is not normally understood is that if you are communicating with others for whatever reason, it may come up that the person might ask you to spell the word. Now, if you are not trained to spell a word, spelling it is going to be very difficult for you. And you can't tell an English speaking person, an English native speaker, to how to write it without spelling it. Even something as simple as checking into a hotel. You're at the reception, you're asking for your room, you're telling them your name, and the receptionist is going to automatically ask you to spell your surname, your family name. And if you're not trained, you will not be able on the spot to come up with the spelling. You'll have to physically write it down because you are not used to do it. Whereas it is extremely important, it's common, it's normal for any English native speaker to do the spelling of everything. It's part of the communication process. It may be necessary to spell any word at any time. So these are small tips that may come useful if you are trying to learn the language. Just a few tips. I'd like to explain these things in English rather than using a bit of Italian and a bit of English, because I think it's also very important for someone who is learning or who wants to learn to speak English, to understand English, to get accustomed to the intonation, to get accustomed to pronunciation. Besides, since it is a video, you can run it as many times as you want. So if you have missed something in my explanation, because maybe I've gone a little faster than I intended to, you can play the video again and listen to it again, as long as you don't get bored with my voice by listening to it for too long. Thank you.